morning, everyone, and welcome to Organizing with Laura. I am so happy that you could all be here with me today and listen in to this webinar. I would like to extend a very personal welcome to all of the clients that I see that have joined us. I believe that we even have one client that was in my first book, Eliminate Chaos, joining us today. So hello to Cynthia. And for those of you that don't know me that are joining us today, I am Laura Leist. I am the founder of Eliminate Chaos. We have now been in business for 20 years, which is really hard to believe. And we have two teams. We have a team that does residential organizing and relocations, and a second team that does business productivity and IT consulting. And so today, part of that team is my husband, Robert, who is going to be helping moderate this webinar today, and he'll be monitoring the chat so that I can talk to you and be tracking the questions that you all have. So we'll take some questions at the end, and we'll see how many of those we can get to. I wanted to let you know that this webinar will run approximately an hour, but if we have additional questions and it needs to run longer than that, I'm fine staying on for a little bit longer today. So the format of the webinar today will be, I have a few polling questions that I'd like to share with you, and then we'll dive into the content that I had outlined in the email to you. And then at the end, I'll talk about a little special bonus that I have for you as well. So the first polling question that I have is, I would really like to just understand how organized everyone is. So you can probably see that on the screen right now. And if you want to go ahead and just take a look at that, and we'll see how the results turn out. It looks like we have about 37 people on the call right now. 36 have answered. All right.
I didn't answer, sir.
Oh, Rob didn't answer. So we're good. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close the polling. And I'm going to share the results with you so you can see what everyone says. And here we go. So it looks like most people here today are just looking for some inspiration and some new ideas. So I hope that I can provide that for all of you today. All right, so let's move on. First thing I want to cover today is the top 3 organizing mistakes that everyone makes when they're trying to get organized. And the first one of those is losing focus. And what I mean by losing focus is, let's say that you are organizing something in your kitchen, and you find something that doesn't need to live there anymore, and you take it to the garage. And then you find an area in the garage that you need to tidy up, and suddenly you've completely lost focus of the project that you're working on. So my recommendation is that if you find things in a particular area of your home that you're organizing, just set them outside the door, and when you're done with that area, you can take those things to the other area of your home so that you don't lose the focus. Sometimes it's also really helpful to set a timer for a specific amount of time that you want to work on a project. That could be helpful too. The second biggest mistake I think people make is biting off more than you can chew. Now let's face it, anything that you're going to organize is probably going to take you about 2 or 3 times longer than what you originally thought it would take you. And you know what? That's okay. I think that we all tend to underestimate just how long projects can take, and I'm guilty of the same thing. So, just if you're going to work on a project, schedule some time on your calendar to do that, and then don't beat yourself up too hard if it takes longer than you thought, because I think for most of us right now, we have probably a little more time on our hands than we would like. The third biggest mistake that people make when getting organized is something that we're probably not going to be doing right now, and that's called shopping first. So I know that in the past, many of our clients have gone out to the store and wanted to buy a lot of organizing product that they thought would help them, but the truth of the matter is that shopping is not step 1, it is step 8, which I'm going to cover those steps in a minute. And here's the thing. When you run out to the store and you try and buy a bunch of product that you think is going to help organize you, a lot of times what I hear people say is that they got so overwhelmed because there's so many options and they didn't really know what they were looking at or looking for. And so if you follow the steps that I'm going to share with you next, you'll see why shopping really needs to come as step 8 in the process. And right now there are stores that we shop at that are still shipping products online, so you can certainly, if you need product, you can probably have it shipped to you. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to some of the projects I've got lined up for you. The next area that I want to talk about is, what are the 10 steps? So when I wrote the book, Eliminate Chaos, the 10-step process to organize your life, I came up with 10 very deliberate steps. And believe it or not, it was 15 years ago when I wrote that book. And the process is still relevant. Over the years, thousands of our clients have used this process with us, and probably thousands more have used the book on their own to tackle their own organizing projects. So I know that it works, and a lot of times you won't even really know that you're following the process, but I think it's helpful for you to know those steps. So I want to share all of those with you first, and I'm just going to go through those very quickly. When I wrote the book, I didn't really think about the fact that maybe before I even got to step 1, we should have what I now call step 0, which is to really have a vision or a goal in mind for the space that you are organizing. I think it's very hard to get to the end of the process if you don't know what your vision is for that area or your home. So I'm going to just add that step in there before I start in on step 1. So step 1 is to make time. You might be thinking, well, why did I put that in the book? It's because for so many years I listened to people say, someday I will get organized. And we all know that someday is not a day on the calendar. So I think it's important that you make time. We all choose how to spend our time, and I think it's important that if this is something that you want to work on for yourself, that you schedule the time to do these different activities. The second step is to gather supplies. And what I mean by that is gathering up boxes maybe for donations, garbage bags, markers, Sharpies, something to drink, something very simple, things that you probably all have around your house anyway. The third step is to establish a staging area. And the reason that that's important is because you really want to have some good horizontal surfaces to spread everything out on. I know from years ago when I was working in some garages, there was just too much on the floor and I ended up tripping and breaking bones in my feet. I also know that if I'm doing a kitchen project, for example, I'm not going to just go into the kitchen cabinets and start kind of moving things around. That's what I call shuffling, and that just doesn't work. I need horizontal space, counter space, folding tables where I can pull things out and take a look at what I have, which leads me to step 4, which is sorting. So sorting is probably going to be one of the most difficult steps in the process, because this is where you are going to make difficult decisions about what is still serving a purpose in your life and what you can live without anymore. So sorting, step 4, kind of goes hand in hand with step 5 and 6. So step 5 is to purge or eliminate those things that never serve a purpose in your life. And as you're, if you're thinking about, just a kitchen cupboard, for example, and pulling everything out and making decisions on that, you can hopefully pretty quickly make a decision about maybe what you no longer need, and you can set aside for donation or to give away to someone else. And then step 6 is to group like items together. And what I mean by that is to really, just think about kind of the quantity and how much space you have to organize, what you've just pulled out. So grouping like items together is also going to give you the opportunity to do a better job with your shopping when the time comes, because you'll know the quantity and you'll know how much space you have for those items. Step 7 is to examine your space. And what I mean by that is, sometimes when we're working on projects with a client, we'll find out that we have to swap spaces around, or we completely use the space differently. And sometimes that's because our clients have let go of so many things in their lives. So really be thinking about taking another look at your steps, at your space, and thinking about how can I best reuse the space now that I've done a little bit of downsizing, or as I like to call it, right sizing. The next step, we finally got there. Step 8, that's shopping. Now I'm going to caution you, when you go shopping, that might seem like the most fun step of this entire process, but you will be a lot more successful at this step if you can simply take some pictures of the items that you are looking to find things to contain in. So for example, if I knew that I was going to be having to organize a bunch of drawers in a kitchen with a bunch of cooking utensils, I might have those cooking utensils laid out on the kitchen counter, and I would snap pictures of those individual items, and then I would take measurements of the drawer so that when I got to the store, I come with my pictures and my tape measure, and I can pretty quickly determine, what types of drawer organizers, the size and the quantity are going to be the best. So shopping, and so we want to, definitely shop for a purpose. This step number 9 is all about installing product. And what I mean by that is simply coming home and getting that product put into place. And that may mean a number of things. It could be something as simple as those drawer organizers or some bins, or it could mean that, we're installing a new closet system or shelving in a garage. So it is very important to get through all of the hard stuff first, step 4, 5, and 6, sorting, eliminating what you no longer need, and getting similar things together so that it makes these last couple of steps easier for you. And step 10 is maintenance. And I will have to say that that is probably also one of the more difficult steps in this process, because with anything, if you don't maintain what you have created, the clutter will probably start to come back. And, you know, maintenance is really something that is ongoing. If you think about different areas of your home, for example, paper, for example, tends to pile up pretty quickly. And if you're someone that kind of tosses it all into a box and you sort through it only once a month, it's going to continue to pile up. Maybe you need to be kind of looking at it at least once a week. Other areas of your home, you probably can have a different maintenance schedule for, like your closets, for example. Once or twice a year, you can go through the closets and maintain. The pantry, maybe once a month you go through and kind of take inventory of what you need for shopping. So maintenance is all about setting the time that works for you for the different areas of your life. And again, kind of going back full circle to step one, which is making time, is that you have to also make time for the maintenance projects in your life. So those are the 10 steps. That's a really quick overview of how the steps work. And now what I want to do is I want to bring up our second poll, and that is to find out what area of your home would you say is the most challenging for you to organize and maintain. So I'm going to go ahead and put that poll up and let me know what you think is the most difficult. Okay. Okay, we have about 30 seconds left. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'll generate the report. And let's take a look at the results. All right, this is really interesting. Not to me, maybe to you, but I am glad to see what I have always said I believe happens in a home, and that is that the home office and the garage are the two areas that people find to be the most challenging to maintain. So I'm going to just talk about that for a little bit before I move into some of the DIY projects that we're going to talk about. So at almost 1/3 of people telling me that paper files are the most difficult. The good news for you is that I've got a lot of tips for you today on how to take care of some of those projects. And then we have the garage. So when I originally wrote the book, Eliminate Chaos, I did some other surveys. And what I found out at that time was, again, the garage and the home office were the most difficult. And here's why. With the garage, if you think about it, typically it is the largest room of your home. Your garage is truly an extension of your home. And what we find with many of our clients is that they put things out in the garage because they don't know what else to do with it, or they don't have a place for it. And someday they will get to those areas. So it becomes what I call the dumping ground of the home. And without a system and a structure for how you're going to utilize your garage, it is very easy for you or maybe family members to just kind of put stuff out into the garage and just forget about it. But here's the thing. I also know that a garage doesn't always have to be a place where you park your cars. In fact, that's one of the first questions that I ask clients when they come to us and want their garage organized. You know, I literally ask them, you know, how do you use the garage? How many car garage do you have? How many cars do you park in the garage? How many cars do you want to park in the garage? Or do you simply want it to be used for storage? Okay, everyone uses that space differently, so there's no right or wrong answer. But I think that the reason it's so hard for people is because if you've never gone through this entire process to the point where you can maintain it, it can be very difficult to get that area organized. Now, the second area that came up that was about 1/3 of those polled said that the home office was the most difficult, especially with paper. And here's what I know to be true about that area is when we're talking about paper and paper management and just how do we set up that information, there's really no right or wrong way to do it, which means that a lot of things are left open for interpretation. And I actually wrote a book as a follow-up to Eliminate Chaos called Eliminate Paper Chaos, which, long story, was never published. One of these days, maybe I'll get it self-published. But here's what I want you to think about when it comes to paper organizing is that everything isn't going to land in just one system, okay? With paper, there's really 4 systems that we think about, and those 4 systems are, the first one is what I call a Daily Action Center, or DAC, which is, it could be a file box, which you'll see in my pictures coming up here in a little bit. Could be a drawer. It's a place for you to put information that you're using every day, so it's just not piled on top of your work surface. Okay, that's one system. A second system is what I call the reference system, and the reference system is, let's say, that might be a place where you're storing insurance policies or credit card statements, bank statements, things that don't require any additional action, but they need to be in a location that is kind of like out of the way, so when you need to reference it, you can access that. The third area is what I call archival, and that would be for things like your tax returns, maybe past legal issues, things that you are probably never going to access or access very seldomly, and you could maybe put those into a portable file tote and stash it away in the back of a closet. The fourth area, and we're going to talk about this a little bit in the projects I have for you, is to think about creating what I call a vital record system. So those are all of the really important documents or pieces of information that you would need if something happened, if there was a natural disaster, you know, if a loved one got sick, you would know where all of that information is. And I think that that is really important, especially right now, to be thinking about how can I gather up all of that information and get that into its own little system. For me, for our family, I keep that information stored in a safe, in an expandable binder, and then I keep a lot of additional information in my LastPass, which is a digital password management system. So I think if you can understand the concept behind those 4 areas that you can be filing, it will make it a little bit easier for you to think about what paper you actually have. Now, the other thing I want to say real quickly about this, since this is not going to be a whole topic on paper organizing today, but if you think about this, your filing system, you know, anybody can put a hanging file folder, a manila file folder into a drawer and slap a label on it. but that is not a system. And people tell me all the time that the reason they don't want to file things away is because they're never going to find them again. Here's what I want you to think about. A filing system is not only a filing system, it is also a retrieval system, which is why when I am creating paper management systems with my clients, it's so important for me up front to get that structure in place using the words that you think of when you look at that information. Because if I wasn't using your words, it's not my system, it's your system. So at the end of the day, whatever those words are on the tabs or the labels, they need to be the way you think about the information so that you can find that and retrieve it in the future. So there's my little sidebars on the garages and the home office with the paperwork. So why don't we talk now about these 5 simple project ideas you can do at home right now. And you know, when I put this webinar together, I was thinking, oh, I'll just give you 5 ideas. And then I came up with so many, I thought, oh my gosh, I just need to kind of get this all down and run through the list and give you a lot of ideas of things that you could be doing at home. And as I've been asked to be on different webinars and podcasts with different people all over the country, you know, one of the things that I've been saying right now is that we have all been given, or many of us, I should say, not all. I realize many people right now are homeschooling and are very busy, but many of us have been given a gift of time. At least that is how I am choosing to look at it right now. I don't have children. My child has 4 paws. And so I'm choosing to look at this as a gift of time that I'll probably never have again. And what I know from working with clients for, you know, the past 2 decades is that there are just certain projects that never get done. And so I really wanted to focus on those projects that I see, that I know take a lot of time. And so if I can kind of just combine those down into maybe 3 areas, and then I'm going to get into the more specific projects that you can do. So the first area that I see people really never tackling is all of the memorabilia that you have in your home, whether that be, you know, photographs, whether they're printed or digital, letters that you've received, cards, kids' schoolwork, and artwork. The other area that I see, and we've already discussed this a little bit, is the paperwork. And I've got a lot of ideas for projects there. And then the last area is passwords and password management and having your passwords all in one place. My husband, Rob, who is an IT professional and does a lot of remote work with our clients on their passwords, he will tell you that the one thing that you can all do that will help you anytime you need help from someone with your IT is that you need to know where your passwords are, because it's amazing how much time some people will find trying to locate a password or reset a password because they don't have access to that. So these are kind of the 3 big areas that I wanted to share with you, but now I'm going to drill into some specific projects. I'm going to start with what I'm calling my kid projects. So whether or not you have kids or not, here are some ideas of things that you can do. Really simple things. Most of these projects I'm going to share with you require only your time, and they don't require you to go out and spend any money or have any product unless you really want to do that. First one, get out all of your Tupperware and your Gladware and put it out on the counter, sort it out, match up all the lids, and put it back away. That could be a really fun project to have your kids work on. Second one, Spices. I had to laugh a little bit about this. I saw my cousin post on Facebook last night that she was making stew and needed oregano, and knew that she had it in her pantry somewhere. And so an hour later, her pantry was completely organized, but still had no oregano. So I thought, well, why don't you maybe pull out all your spices, take a look at the expiration dates. Maybe you don't want to throw those out right now, but spices do expire. And then have your kids make a list of those things that you could replenish. Taking it one step further, if you have a pantry or wherever you're storing all of your food, is you could pull out all of the canned goods, the box items, look at expiration dates, set those aside, make a decision. Could you use up those expired items if they're not too far past their expiration dates? And then could you group similar food items back together? You know, for young kids, this could be a really great learning opportunity. It teaches them, you know, some sorting skills as well. You could also sort through all of the reusable water bottles that I've seen in clients' homes over the years and match those up with lids. This is a great time for kids to sort through all of their schoolwork. There is a product that I like to use. It's by Itoya, I believe, Itoya Portfolio. You can probably find it on Amazon or the Container Store. But what I like about these albums is that they come in many different sizes and they're acid-free and lignin-free. So once you've kind of culled down the schoolwork, you just slide whatever schoolwork you want to keep into that album, and then it keeps it from fading or turning yellow. I actually use those same portfolios to organize the Eliminate Chaos items that we want to keep for scrapbooking purposes. And then another idea is to have your kids go through all of their artwork. So, and we know that artwork comes in, you know, flat artwork as well as three-dimensional. A couple things that you can do with that. You can, you know, after you've had your kids choose maybe the best pieces, there's a couple of services online. One's called Plum Print. The other one is called Artkive. It's ARTKIVE, where you can literally order a box, load it up with the artwork that you're keeping, ship it off, and they will make a very nice book for you of all of the art, and then you can choose to have that art sent back to you. Now, another thing that you could do is you could make your own without having to even send that artwork off. In fact, we do this a lot for our clients, where we gather up all the schoolwork and the artwork, and we literally take the pictures for our clients and turn it into Shutterfly photo albums. And it really helps to minimize the amount of artwork and schoolwork, but I think it's also a really fun project that kids could be doing right now. And then the last idea that I have with kids is to just maybe go through, you know, toys and games, maybe find those things that they've outgrown, box them up, set them aside, and once you have the opportunity, you can take those away to donations. So there's about 6 or 7 ideas for you with kids or without kids to work on. The second area I'm going to talk about is family projects, things that maybe you can all do together as a family. And this is where memorabilia comes back into play. So the first thing I'm going to say is, you know, find where all of your printed items are, all of your printed photos. Gather them up and sit down around a table and figure out what are your favorites and how could you organize them. Maybe figure out which ones you want to scan to create a digital photo book with. But this would be a great time to start sorting through and looking at those photos. And at least if you don't want to scan them, get them into some sort of acid-free photo box, which you could order online to store them, to keep them from fading, and also just to keep them from being damaged. You could also find all of your old greeting cards, letters. It might be really fun one evening just to sit around and share some of those memories, but then also divide them up to, you know, give to different family members. Maybe give each family member their own box for memorabilia. And then, as I've already kind of alluded to, is, you know, also make digital photo albums. Maybe, you know, your last vacation that you took, or all the photos that you took in 2019. You know, this is a big hobby of mine. I love to make those photo albums, and so what I'm kind of doing right now with some of my free time is I'm going back to previous years where I never created those albums, and I'm spending the time to make some photo albums for our family, and it's actually a lot of fun to relive those memories. The third area is the home office, and it's going to come as no surprise that this is where I have the longest list of opportunities for you to do some easy organizing projects. So let me run down this list really quick with you. And I'm going to preface what I say with some of the statements. I'm going to be making comments about that. If you are taking a tax deduction on your home office, then you will need to hang on to some of these statements for up to 3 years, according to the IRS. If you are not taking a tax deduction on your home office, then you don't need to worry about keeping any of these. It's really a matter of personal preference. The only things that you really need to keep are things that maybe are of legal or accounting nature, and then everything else is up to your personal preference. So utility statements, they don't need to be kept. I know that many people tell me all the time, but I keep those so that I can go back and compare from year to year. And then I ask, and when was the last time that you did that? And the answer is usually never. So let them go. You don't need to keep them. That alone will clear out a lot of your paperwork. The next area is old credit card statements and bank statements. Check with your bank, go online, find out how long they store those online. My guess is that maybe if you're going to keep anything, you keep it for about a year. You may want to keep credit card statements to prove a large ticket items, you know, for insurance reasons or also for medical reasons if you're charging medical visits onto the credit cards. But likely you don't need the past 10 or 15 years worth of credit card statements, and you can shred those. Another great project for children to help you with. You can also look for your old past tax returns and shred those. What many people are not aware of is that the IRS about 3 years ago changed their guidelines. It used to be that you needed to save 7 years of your tax records. Well, actually, it was 7 years of the actual tax record and 3 years of the supporting documentation. Well, the IRS has changed that, and it is now 3 years only for the tax return and the supporting documentation, unless you have filed a fraudulent return, which means that many of you can probably go through and start shredding some of the old tax returns. It will be different for your business, so check with your CPA on that. Now, if you want to know more about that, there is a publication that the IRS put out. It's called Publication 552. You can Google it. There's also one for businesses, Publication 553. It will give you more information about what you need to store for tax reasons. The next thing that you can do with taxes right around the corner, although this year we get a break and we get to file them later, is make a folder called 2019 taxes, make another one called 2020 taxes, and as you're kind of going through and cleaning up the files in your office, anything that you find that you need for your taxes to file this year, put in that 2019 folder. And then for 2020, just have a folder in your office where as the 1099 interest statements come in, or any donations that you make throughout the year, or any things that you buy at like an auction, you're getting a tax break on, you can put all of those documents into that folder so that it's ready for you for when you go to file your 2020 taxes. Another thing I see laying around in a lot of people's offices are business cards. So now might be a great time to pull them all out and sort through them and take a look to see whose card you still need. And here's a little litmus test for you. If you can't remember who the person is, it's probably time to let the business card go. The next one is I find that a lot of our clients keep envelopes or the return addresses of people that they've received holiday cards from, so that someday they can enter those into their address book, whether that's digital or however you store addresses. So now might be a great time to go find all of those and get your address book updated. The next area is I find a lot of people have little scraps of paper with notes, passwords, all just sorts of random things. I would gather up all of those little pieces of paper and then I would sort them. I would sort them into lists that you've made. I would sort them into passwords. I would sort them into, you know, addresses or things that you want to buy. And then once you have those individual piles tackled, you can figure out what you want to do with all of that individual information. The next thing that kind of leading up to that is taking a look at your password management system. Do you have one? And if you don't have one, now might be the time to start thinking about having one. And when I get to my last poll, I am going to talk about the possibility of us offering an intro to digital password management. So be sure to stay tuned for that poll. And then the last couple more things under paper management that you can be working from. Remember a little bit ago I talked about creating a vital records system. That was one of my 4 systems I talked about. And you might be wondering, well, you know, what do I store in this system and where do I store it? Some people will store it in a safety deposit box, although there's certain things that you shouldn't store in a safety deposit box, like your passport and the final copy of a will if no one else has access to that in your family. But here's a few things that you can think about that you might want to set aside that you can go put into this area wherever you're going to store this really important paperwork. So they might be things like your passports, your social security cards, powers of attorney, wills, medical directives, car titles, birth certificates, citizenship papers, divorce decrees, you know, the originals, of course, death certificates, immunization records, jewelry appraisals, marriage certificates, the original, military records. I mean, you have to kind of think, what are the documents that I have that are going to be so difficult for me to put my hands on again if I really need this information? That's the kind of information which is typically in paper format that you're going to want to, you know, locate and get into some sort of system for you and your family. 2 more ideas. You could also kind of scroll through your phone and delete out bad photos that are on your phone, and then also make sure that your phone is backed up and that you've got those pictures saved. So if you don't already have a backup on your phone, maybe now is the time to plug it into the computer and get those photos onto your computer and make sure that your computer is backed up as well. So there is a number of projects for you to tackle with paperwork in your office, and hopefully that'll be pretty easy. But remember, the key really is don't just look at your office as, oh my gosh, I have to do this all at once. You know, pick one or two things or just one thing a day and go through that and get it done, and then pick something else for another day. And slowly over time, you will get through all of these little projects. The fourth area that I have to work on is probably the bathroom or the linen closet, depending on where you store these particular items. Some of the things that I want you to kind of pay attention to are gathering up all of your first aid items, first aid, cold, cough, flu items, the thermometer, and maybe old medicines, and taking a look to see what is still current and what is expired. Can you set the things aside that are expired? You know, how long ago did they expire? Again, just like with food, make a list of what you need to replenish. Disposing of medicine. Many pharmacies take medicine back, but another thing that you can do, you do not want to ever flush medicine down a toilet. What you can do is you can mix it up into cat litter, you can mix it up into coffee grounds, into dirt, and dispose of it in the garbage. That's one way to get rid of it if you don't want to take it to a pharmacy or not able to take it to a pharmacy. And then the other thing I would really recommend is centralizing these types of items for your family into one area of your home. So many homes that I've been in have so much of the stuff that tends to go to waste because people just can't find it. So centralizing it all into one area. And then my last set of projects for you has to do with your closet. And by closet, I mean your clothes closet, master closet, whatever you want to call it. Now, the closet can also be a challenge for a lot of people, how to tackle. So I thought I'd break it down for you. And instead of trying to tackle your closet all in one day, maybe you break it down into certain types of clothing every day that you focus on. And you can also do this with your children. Here's some ideas. You could, on one day, gather up all the pajamas and go through those. Next day, take a look at all the undergarments and socks. Another day, the shoes. One day, all of your workout clothing. One day, maybe all of your tops. Another day, the bottoms. One day, maybe all your dressy clothes. Your jewelry. When's the last time that you sorted through your jewelry? You could even clean it. In fact, that's actually one thing I did last weekend is I took some of my jewelry that has tarnished a little bit, and I went online and found a way that I could clean jewelry at home using vinegar, salt, and baking soda and hot water. And I could let my jewelry soak in that and then just polish it up with a rag, and it worked great. So that's another kind of a fun idea, is just to take a look at, you know, what's in the jewelry box. So I would have to say, you know, so many ideas. I could give you so many more, and I'm looking at the time and realizing it's already about, we've got about 12 minutes until noon, but I want to now share with you some pictures of projects that we've done to give you a little bit of inspiration for your own home, and then we'll go ahead and take some questions that I'll be happy to answer for you. And then, like I said, I do have one more poll for you as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen so that you can see my little presentation that I have here. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Oh, all right, so here we have a spice drawer. Now, a lot of people tend to put spices in a cabinet, but sometimes there isn't enough room for that. What you're seeing there in the spice drawer is what I call an expandable drawer divider. It's wood. They also make them in plastic, but that's a great way to be able to see all of your spices if you have extra room in your kitchen drawers. It's not letting me advance the slide.
Put your up or down.
Hang on 1 minute. I'm not able to advance my slide. Bear with me a second. No, it's not advancing. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Here's the next slide. I love turntables in a kitchen cupboards for things like spices, oils, anything that's round. Very easy to find online, and you can save yourself so much time by really being able to maximize the use of a turntable and just spin things around so you can quickly find things so that things do not get buried in the back of your cabinet. If you notice on the top couple of shelves, I have some bins. They're made by Interdesign, and they have things like sprinkles and different baking items. The reason I put those in those bins is because for some of us, like me, I can't reach those shelves without a step stool, but I can grab one of those bins and I can pull everything down off the shelf. So it just helps to kind of contain things going forward. Here is a utensil drawer where you can make your own drawer organizers around your utensils, silverware, whatever you have. This is completely customizable. This product in particular we found at the Container Store. Here is another idea for how you can also customize your silverware drawers, utensil drawers. This is a product that you can go online. It's called Organize My Drawer. And you basically take measurements of what's going in the drawer, and then they create these amazing acrylic drawer inserts that you just slip into your drawer. Now, I will tell you that as I sort of mention a lot of different products or services on this webinar, I just want you to know that I don't get any credit for this. It's just my knowledge of product, and I know, what's out there and what works. So that's why I'm mentioning those things to you. This is a pantry that we organize that has, as you can see, a lot of back stock of product. And this rack, it's what we call is IP rack or industrial post, which can be built basically to your specific dimensions needed. So this pantry, it didn't really have any shelving in it, and so we went out and bought this rack system. And whenever we are setting up one of these racks, we build from the bottom up. So it doesn't matter if it was in a pantry, in a storage room, in a garage. We figure out what we want to go on the bottom shelf first. We put it on there. We put the next shelf on, and then so on and so forth until we're building our way up. Keeping in mind that what we want in sort of the middle part of the rack are the things that we use the most often, that we want where our eyes are. This is another pantry that we did. And if you remember, one of my ideas was to kind of sort through a lot of the food in the pantry so that you could have similar groupings of things. If you take a look at some of what you're seeing on the screen, we've got, breads, snacks, nuts, chips, protein bars. Taking things out of packaging and putting them into a container that can sit on a shelf will help you not only contain and organize, it also helps from getting a lot of crumbs onto the shelves as well. These bins are also made by Inner Design, and they're about 16 inches in depth, so they work great for pantries that are really deep. And then this is another pantry that just had some pull-out shelves. And these containers are airtight. They're made by OXO. You can find them at a variety of places: Costco, Bed Bath & Beyond, the Container Store. And when I use these containers, a lot of times I find just random bags of things like different flours, sugars, nuts, all sorts of baking items that if people are using these that often, I think they save better in a container. And then I like to label on the front and the top, so that it's just real quick and easy for you to access, and you can see what you have. Same idea here, only we put those containers into a drawer of someone's, so they had all their baking goods together. And then here's one way that we stored water bottles in a client's kitchen after we had matched up all of the lids. Now, I found through our client, she actually came up with this idea, so I don't get to take credit, but she bought stacking wine organizers. They're plastic, and she put into her cupboard these stacking wine organizers, and then put the wine, or put the water bottles onto those racks instead. And I should mention, there's a picture of that on our Instagram account. So for any of you that want to follow us on Instagram, we do have a page. Just look for Eliminate Chaos. We have two Instagram pages. One's Eliminate Chaos, and the other one is Laura Leist Speaker. All right, here's the next one. This is a junk drawer. Now, a junk drawer does not have to be junky. It can be organized. And I find that when we make the time to put in some, really beautiful organizers into the drawer, it really helps to define the space that we have for certain things. You don't need to use bamboo organizers here. You could reuse little boxes that you have at home from things, or you could also get acrylic or mesh, but just the idea of containing similar things in an easy to access location for everyone in the family. All right, here's an idea for your clothing closet. One thing that I've always said is that matching hangers in the closet make a really big impact. It doesn't matter if they're plastic, if they're the huggable ones like the ones you see in this picture, wood. I'm not a fan of the dry cleaning hangers other than for men's shirts that come back from the dry cleaner. But if you just look at this picture, you can see how even if you don't have a closet system like this that looks this beautiful, you can still make your clothes look beautiful because they're all going to hang at the same length when you have similar hangers. It's just a really small investment into how your closet can look. And I will also tell you that it's a lot more inviting to hang up and put your clothes away when everything looks nice and organized. One recommendation I might make if you are thinking about doing this and switching out all your hangers is go online to companies like hangersdirect.com or hangers.com, where you can buy hangers by the 100 instead of like a package of 6 or 10. You will get a much better price deal on that. I've also found on Amazon in the past where you can buy boxes of 50 or 100 at far less of an expense than if you were just to buy a package of 10. All right, so here's just another look at that same closet. There is also a tool that you can buy, believe it or not, to fold shirts so that they all fold and look the same way in the closet. Again, just kind of showing you how nice it looks to have matching hangers, have similar types of clothing hung in one section so you can find what you have. This is a shoe organizer for if you have a lot of shoes. What I like about this one is that it's on casters. It's not built into the wall, so it can be moved around. This is not my closet, but I will tell you that I have that exact same shoe organizer in my closet. And I've been joking with Rob that we might actually do a little video of our closet one of these days and put it out there for you to take a look at. Here is the back of a door where you've got a hanging pocket organizer. And in this particular instance, we use this pocket organizer for rolling up scarves behind the door, but you can use it for so many different things: shoes, flip-flops, cleaning products, kids' toys. And then just some ideas of hanging scarves if you don't want to roll them up or fold them in a drawer. Hanging your jewelry. This is also something I do. These are some ideas for your bathroom. This is a bathroom I organized where, again, really deep shelves. And you'll see I've used two different kind of bins here. I've reused a bin that you saw in the pantry, the inner design bin. I've also used what's called the kitchen fridge and freezer bins. They have a little handle, a little lip that you can put your fingers under and just pull directly off the shelf. So by putting similar types of bath products together can make it really easy for you to find, or your family to find, what they need, and just know that you're not buying a lot of duplicate product that might expire. And again, just another shot of what it looked like once we got all of the first aid items put together in one location for our family. And then this was a medicine cabinet that we did many years ago, and we just used some wood drawer organizers for this. This area actually lived in a client's kitchen, but you can see how we broke down different types of things, such as, Advil or cough drops or cough supplies, the thermometers. Everything has a home. All right, we're going to move on to home offices, and really quickly, just a few ideas here. You'll notice in the bottom, I've got some greeting cards stored in, again, those same types of pull-out bins. On the top shelf, I've utilized magazine holders to store things like sheet protectors, photo printer paper, dividers. I find that it's a lot better to store these items upright, where you can just pull that magazine holder off the shelf and access what you need, versus piling everything up on top of each other. It just makes it more difficult to find that way. And then you'll see on the middle shelf how I used some bins where all of the excess office supplies are stored and easy to access. Again, this closet client didn't want to see anything, so all her office supplies are all disguised behind these really pretty linen magazine files and photo boxes. And then this is what I was referring to earlier with a daily action center and then a reference file drawer. This actually is my office. That blue box, kind of that Tiffany blue color, is a box that literally lives under my desk. It is what I call my daily action center. That acrylic box I bought on Amazon. I believe the company was Russell and Hazel. I was also able to order on Amazon through Smead all matching hanging files, and then I use a product called Viewables, which are the 3D tabs that you see. I love those tabs. They you have to buy their product in order to get the tabs, but you can see the tabs from the front, the top, and the back. And if you go to Viewables, which is Viewables, viewables.com, you can have access to their software for free to make those viewables. If you don't want to do them on your own, you can ship me a list, and for $2, we can make the viewables for you, $2 a tab, and then send them to you. So the blue box is what I call my daily action center. And one thing that I also believe in when creating a filing system is that if you have really pretty colors that you enjoy looking at, it will make it easier to file your information away. Hopefully, that's the idea. I also use what I call second position or center cut manila file folders, because some of those hanging files have multiple folders in them. And so I want to go down my categories, which is on the left-hand side, and see what is my category, and then maybe I might have multiple inside files, but now it's really easy for me to just read from left to right to see all of my folders, and it just keeps my system looking very clean. Now the pink files are my personal files. So in my office, I use pink for personal and blue for business, and two of my favorite colors. And so that way, when someone comes into my office, it's pretty easy to determine, okay, what's work and what's personal. So I believe the drawer that you're seeing is that literally, I have one drawer of paperwork for our family, and you can see my categories there. So that is what I refer to as my reference drawer. Okay. All right, moving on. This is actually in a laundry room. A lot of extra cleaning supplies. It just so happened that we had space above. I think there was a refrigerator there, but a lot of you have spaces above your refrigerator where you have a really deep shelf, and or a deep cabinet, I should say. And so you can get a turntable that is 21 or 22 inches in diameter. And so without ever having to get on a stool, you can just spin that around and access whatever it is that you want to keep up above the refrigerator area. You see cleaning supplies here. In the past, I've stored china on turntables. I've stored vases. I've stored extra cooking supplies, all sorts of different things, but just made it really easy for people to access by using that very large turntable. And then this is another laundry room where you're going to kind of see some themes going here, where again, turntables, those pull off the shelf bins. Most cabinets are about 11 inches deep. So a 10.5 inch or 11-inch turntable will work great in there. Also, those bins that you see on the top shelf that contain extra bathroom supplies for a large family. The kids can quickly come into this area and access what they need. Those bins are about 10.5 inches in depth. And then I just kind of had to throw this one in there. This is my Chaos Eliminator spray. I was asked one day by a client if Eliminate Chaos came in a spray form when they were remodeling their home that they were moving into, and the project wasn't going quite as quickly as they had hoped, which is what happens, I think, on a lot of remodels. And so I got to know the builder, the remodeler, quite well, and we joked about this a lot. So at the end of the project, I went and got a spray bottle and put some water in it and some lavender oil and some blue and red food coloring, and made my own spray and took it to them. And I think it now sits on a shelf in their office. So I don't bottle this, but I do joke that we can make it happen in spray form as well. So that is the end of the just a few little ideas that I have. I do another program called Eliminate Chaos, 10-Step Process to Organize Your Home and Life, where I go a lot more into depth into all the areas of your home. But today's webinar was just really to give you some quick ideas of things for you to do at your home, and then see some things that we have done. And so right now, what I'm going to do is open it up for questions. I realize it's a little past 12.
I emailed him, Dave.
And so Rob says he emailed me the questions. You did?
But if they had more, then
Okay, let me grab my phone. And I'll look at the questions on my phone here. All right. Okay, so Jean asked the question, would love to hear your ideas on electronic files that need to be shared. So there's a number of different ways that you can share files. You can, Dropbox is one way. If you have an Office 365 account, you've already got free file sharing there. Rob, how many terabytes or gigabytes you get? 5 with the account?
Office 365.
365.
Yeah, one terabyte.
1 terabyte.
Yeah.
So Rob says with Office 365, 1 terabyte of storage is with that account to share files. And I don't do a lot of work with Google or the G Suite, so I can't really tell you there other than I know that there are Google Docs or something like that. I'm not an expert in that area. I spend most of my time working with Microsoft products. Okay, we have another question. How to start fresh with a new house? That's a great question. I wish I knew a little bit more. I think how I'm going to answer that question is I would find the 2 or 3 areas of your home that is really maybe bothering you the most and start with those areas. It's no different than any other organizing project, is just thinking about maybe tackling what's most difficult, what's bothering you the most, and then working through those 10 steps for each of those areas. Let's see. Lori asked about interdesign bins. Yes, you got that correct, Lori. It's interdesign, INTERDESIGN bins. Mary, Laura, love this. You changed my life when you helped me move from our office on my own, literally 12 files of paper to an office cube with 1 file drawer. I still use OneNote and couldn't do the job to this day if I hadn't learned to work differently. Thank you.
That wasn't a question.
Oh, that wasn't a question. Rob said that wasn't a question. Sorry. Rob put it in the question. But thank you, Mary. I still remember the day working with you, and I am so proud of you, and I'm so glad to know that it really impacted your work so much. I just think that can be a lesson for so many people of how you can really take your paper information and go digital. There are so many tools that you can use. I know that one thing that we did with Mary is we converted a lot of her paper files to OneNote, which I do a lot of work with. It's just a digital notebook, so we're not keeping so much information stored on paper anymore. And the other thing about OneNote that's so great, and then also Evernote, which is similar to OneNote, is that you can share those notebooks. So if you have a lot of information that you want to share with someone, Evernote and OneNote is a great way to do that. Cynthia asks, what is the tool to fold shirts? Oh, gosh. I have one in my storage room. I'm going to have Rob jump out and go get that really quick. See if he can locate it. Rob, if you go into the storage room on the IP rack, there's a gray shirt folding tool. Would you mind bringing that in? You can take a look at it. Yeah, company storage room. All right, Steve, can you post a list of recommended products like this, bins, etc.? I will see what I can do on that. When I prepared this webinar, I didn't do a big handout or anything. A lot of times I just kind of free flow speak through it all, so I'll have to try and think about everything that I mentioned here. Let's see, I'm gonna just take a look at the chat here. Oh, Joyce says it's called a trifold at the Container Store or Target. Lori says, I bought one at Amazon. My shirts will never be the same. Let's see. Okay, Rob can't find it. It's on the bottom shelf. All right, let's see. Jean says, how do you organize in a way that makes sense to a lot of peeps? Well, I am a fan of labeling some things, but I don't label everything. I think what really needs to happen is that you need to get your family on board and you need to educate them about what you're doing. And so one thing that I like to have families do if you're organizing specific areas of your home where multiple people are going to be using things is get everyone kind of on the same page. Let them know what you're doing and let them let them understand why you're doing this, how things are organized. Give them a tour at the end, okay? This is one thing that we try and do with our clients is once we've gotten everything organized and into place and labeled, give them a tour so that they know where things now live, how it's going to be maintained, and what your expectations are as well. I think that would be really helpful. Okay, Rob just brought me in our tool folding thing. It's a little hard to see here because it's kind of big. Oh, Rob says I'm going to stop the presentation. Okay, so here is the shirt folding tool. Let me look on here and see what it's made by. It's called the Flip Fold. Flip Fold, F-L-I-P-F-O-L-D. And it comes with some instructions on how to do that. It's what a lot of retailers use in the store. You can probably find it on Amazon. I know that one of my employees, Nancy, gave this to me many years ago. It's what we use with our clients when we're doing closets. All right. Do we have any more questions?
Nope.
Okay. At this point, we don't have any more questions, but I have one more poll, and then I have a little offer for you at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and start the next poll. And what I really want to find out is what other webinars would you find useful if we could offer those to you? So I'm going to go ahead and let you take a look at the list, and then we'll share those results in a minute. All right, it looks like we have about 20 people. 25. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and create the report. And it looks like, wow.
Password management.
Password management. Now, interesting. And with the next one being papers. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for filling that out. Now, interestingly enough, I actually considered doing the LastPass or an introduction to password management as our first webinar. And then I decided, I'm not going to start there. I'm going to just, I wanted to kind of give everyone an overview of some things that you could be doing now with your time, which is why I chose this topic. Both Rob and I work with our clients to set up LastPass and get all of the information organized. And what I will tell you is that there is so much more information that you can store and share with family members in LastPass, far beyond passwords. And it is a free tool that you can get online, that you can store in Chrome. You can also get a free app for your phone, but we typically recommend that our clients have the premium plan or a family plan. So you might want to just go to LastPass and take a look at that. And what Rob and I have talked about already is that we will likely do or an intro. I'm just going to call it an intro to online password management, but we'll do that with using LastPass, since that's what we use with our clients. And we'll find a date that we can do that. It may not be me doing that webinar. I may help, but it may actually be Rob, who is our IT specialist. And then I will look at maybe doing an Eliminate Paper Chaos webinar in the near future as well. So let's see. I'm just looking at the comments here.
Yes.
Let's see. Michael says, I would like something that can store complex passwords that are different across sites, but I don't have to write down.
Exactly.
So, yes, Michael, LastPass can do that exactly. They can auto-generate very secure passwords. You'll never have to remember the password. You only have to remember your master passwords. That's one password and that's it. And let's see. Okay, so that is all the information I have for you today. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about kind of the bonus I wanted to offer to you. As you know, I have a number of books that I've written over the years, not just Eliminate Chaos, also Eliminate the Chaos at Work, and increase your productivity using Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft OneNote, data at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere, and from any device. And so those are all available on our website, and you can also find them on Amazon. You can find them on BookBaby if you want a digital version of some of those. I will send out to everyone that was here today or registered that couldn't attend, I will send another follow-up email with a link to the recording so you can rewatch this. I will also let you know that if you do decide to purchase one of the books from our website, I can't do it from any of the other websites, but if you do decide to purchase a book from our website, I will, go ahead and sign that book for you, and I will also include a special bonus worksheet for you that will talk about all of these projects that we talked about today. I can't do that if you buy from Amazon or BookBaby because I don't have any control there, but I can do that if you want to get something from our website. So I'll send out the link there. And then what I just want to kind of leave you with at the end of this is that, when I wrote this book, and I'm just going to point down here to the bottom where it says, it's not about the stuff. And I really and truly mean that, okay? If you knew the reason why I started this business and my own, what I call the purse story, you would know why I say it's not about the stuff. And so I'm just going to leave you with that and know that it's not about the stuff. but it's really about you having more time for life. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see many of you on a future webinar. Thank you.